Lesson number 5, Sunday, October 23rd. The Resurrection of Moses. Jude 9 and Luke 9:28 to 36 says, Yet Michael, the archangel, when contending with the devil, he disputed about the body of Moses, dare not bring against him a railing accusation, but said, The Lord rebuke thee. Luke 9:28 to 36 says, And it came to pass about 8 days after these sayings, he took Peter and John and James and went up into a mountain to pray. As he prayed, the fashion of his countenance was altered, and his raiment was white and glistering. And, behold, there talked with him 2 men, which were Moses and Elijah, who appeared in glory, and spoke of his decease which he should accomplish at Jerusalem. But Peter and they that were with him were heavy with sleep, and when they were awake they saw his glory, and the 2 men that stood with him. And it came to pass, as they departed from him, Peter said to Jesus, Master, it is good for us to be here, and let us make 3 tabernacles, one for you, and one for Moses, and one for Elijah, not knowing what he said. While he thus spoke, there came a cloud, and overshadowed them, and they feared as they entered into the cloud. And there came a voice out of the cloud, saying, This is my beloved Son, hear him. And when the voice was past, Jesus was found alone, and they kept it close, and told no man in those days any of those things which they had seen. What evidences do you find in these texts for the bodily resurrection of Moses? Some Greek church fathers from Alexandria argued that when Moses died, 2 Moseses were seen, one alive in the spirit, another dead in the body. One Moses ascending to heaven with angels, the other buried in earth. See the book Origin, Homilies on Joshua 2:1, by Clement of Alexandria. This distinction between the assumption of the soul and the burial of the body might make sense to those who believe in the Greek concept of the immortal soul, but the idea is not in the Bible. Jude 9 confirms the biblical teaching of the resurrection of Moses' body, because the dispute was about the body of Moses and not about any supposed surviving soul. Deuteronomy 34:5-7 tells us that Moses died at 120 years of age, and the Lord buried him in a hidden place in a valley in the land of Moab. But Moses did not remain for very long in the grave. Christ himself, with the angels who had buried Moses, came down from heaven to call forth the sleeping saint. For the first time, Christ was about to give life to the dead. As the Prince of Life and the Shining Ones approached the grave, Satan was alarmed for his supremacy. Christ did not stoop to enter into controversy with Satan, but Christ referred all to his Father, saying, The Lord rebuke thee. Jude 9. The resurrection was forever made certain. Satan was despoiled of his prey. The righteous dead would live again. And that was found in Patriarchs and Prophets, page 478 and 479. A clear evidence of Moses' resurrection is found at the Transfiguration. There Moses appeared with the prophet Elijah, who had been translated without seeing death. 2nd book of Kings 2:1-11. Moses and Elijah even dialogued with Jesus. See Luke 9:28-36. And behold, 2 men talked with him, who were Moses and Elijah, who appeared in glory and spoke of his decease which he was about to accomplish at Jerusalem. Luke 9:30-31. Moses' appearance was proof of Christ's coming victory over sin and death. It depicted here in unmistakable terms. It was Moses and Elijah, not their spirits, After all, Elijah hadn't died, who had appeared to Jesus there. Moses was not allowed to enter the earthly Canaan, Deuteronomy 34, 1-4, but was taken into the heavenly Canaan. What does this teach about how God is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we ask or think, according to the power that works in us? Ephesians 3:20. From the book, The Desire of Ages, page 421, it says, "A wilderness grave was the goal of Moses, years of toil and hard-burdening care. But he who is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we ask or think," Ephesians 3:20, had in this measure answered his servant's prayer. Moses passed under the dominion of death, but he was not to remain in the tomb. Christ himself called him forth to life. Satan the tempter had claimed the body of Moses because of his sin, but Christ the Savior brought him forth from the grave. Jude 9. Moses, upon the Mount of Transfiguration, was a witness to Christ's victory over sin and death. He represented those who shall come forth from the grave at the resurrection of the just. Elijah, who had been translated to heaven without seeing death, represented those who will be living upon the earth at Christ's second coming, and who will be changed in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trump. When this mortal must put on immortality, and this corruptible must put on incorruption. 1 Corinthians 15, 51-53. And from the SDA Bible Commentary, Volume 5, page 1096, it says, "The Father chose Moses and Elijah to be his messengers to Christ, and glorify him with the light of heaven, and commune with him concerning his coming agony, because they had lived upon earth as men. They had experienced human sorrow and suffering, and could sympathize with the trial of Jesus in his earthly life. Elijah, in his position as a prophet to Israel, had represented Christ, and his work had been, in a degree, similar to that of the Savior. And Moses, as the leader of Israel, had stood in the place of Christ, communing with him and following his directions. Therefore, these two, of all the hosts that gathered around the throne of God, were fittest to minister to the Son of God." Have a blessed day.